Hello and welcome back to the channel and another CC Design Contest playthrough, and with this one we're going for Cormac's Bluff, and this is by Fargo, I want to say. Now, someone who I've seen posting a lot but I haven't seen many courses of theirs, and I played this now. I'm going to say this is going to be my third round on it, and I really enjoyed it. There's like, every contest there are some pleasant surprises. We're kind of getting into the latter stages of judging now, so it's kind of all of those courses around the top end of the contest. So the later ones for these playthroughs are always going to be good. Now this one, he's suggested multiple pins and wins and things, which is always a bit tricky because I think you want to be really careful between being overly specific because the casual player is not going to realise that you need these, but I quite like that there's various things for tournament play. Now, he said high winds are preferable. Pin 4 and a high west wind is fun, but I know what my tempo is like. So we're going pin 3 north and on green, which is what he suggested. We're going to go medium winds. He's got 4 green sites within 200 yards, 3, 4, 9, 17. Par 3 shorter than 125 is hole 15. And then he's got the green tees of the manipulated set, which I haven't played yet. So that works quite nicely. So I'm going to leap in and give it a go. And I mean, as kind of I would expect from, of course, for someone who I'm not very familiar with their work, there's a lot of, I guess the thing that I'm not expecting is how much stuff on here there is that I really like, because that doesn't happen all that often. And it's a really pleasant surprise when it does. The things to be expected are there's some things that we can tidy up and like we can point out for you. It'll be a nice easy fix. First of all, I really think the plot's really cool. Like it goes out onto this little spit of land, but it's quite cohesive and like it's really easy having made the mistake early on. It's really easy to put water on all sides and have it not feel coherent and have the water be in play the whole time, like Kayuma Bay. And yet this one works really nicely with the routing. It kind of goes out, it goes back. The rock work out here and the coastline looks really, really good. I like the extended water plane so that the water looks nice and calm and tranquil and allows you to do those beaches, which work really well. There's a cool mix of environments. There's some sandbelt stuff, some abandoned stuff, maybe. I don't know. I think it's kind of sort of fictitious, but I'd guess at somewhere Australia, New Zealand sort of style would make sense given some of the bunkering. Um, and the textures are, I mean, I just don't think you can really go too far wrong with some of these textures. The brown and this sort of green look really, really good together. And in Delta, where you can get the kind of the heavy rough texture removed as well, I think looks really nice. So, we're on this tee for this one. So we are slightly manipulated. The other one's over there. We're a little bit further back into this side. So I'll be interested with this. The thing that I find with manipulated tees is the real challenge is having one tee set not be all manipulated. So you want, for me, like I want back tees are black, and then I will typically do 2 manipulated sets off that. So if you look at Huntington Sound would be one, Yarra would be another. Like there's basically 2 rounds would be off black, and then 1 would be off each of these. And sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's a slightly different angle. Like that's the way I would tend to do it, and have the. So it'll be interesting to see how differently this plays. Okay, so it brings in this tree maybe a little bit more than it did. What I like from this tee set, it's quite nice being able to play this one and commenting on the things that I saw in the first round. From your main tee set, you can't really see that bit of fairway, which actually that's a lot. There's a lot of forgiveness over there, and I would have liked to see that a little bit more. From this tee set, you see that more, not so much here. So it's an interesting one. I think that's a bit too hidden from this side, but from this side it looks really, really good. And I think the sightline's better from this tee, I would argue. Now, the green itself, the planting around it is just really, really good. The density's great. You've given space where it needs to. I like the planting around the bunker. The sandbelt style bunker shape looks good. The sculpting's good. We will talk a little bit more about sculpting and planting later because I think that kind of shows up a bit as well. And the way the environment blends with the bunkers, when I say this, it makes sense because it's integrated and like you can feel like the whole is part of the landscape it inhabits. You don't always need to put planting into bunkers, but when you do and you do it well, it's a really good thing. Now, if I go down this side, there's strategy to the whole. Go down this side, you're going over the bunker. Make the more tricky carry over to this side. You go more straight down and you've got a bit more forgiveness. So I'm going to take that angle on. I think we've hit it. I do think the sculpting on the back of these bunkers is a bit severe. We can flatten that out. And largely speaking, to leap into camera mode quickly. I think that's to do with the sculpting on the bunkers, and the front low side is actually pretty high, so balls are going to roll away from it. I think you probably want this lower, which would allow you to put this bit lower. And if you particularly open the front side of the bunker by lowering this part, like the part that's kind of coming back to the player, you won't have to sculpt up the back so much in order to make them visible from the tee. Just little bits with sculpting I think could be a touch neater. Not bad by any means, but the way this then has an impact on here is I've got a really hard red stance that you don't really want me to have. It's just a product to that bunker sculpting. Did not leap left as much as I thought it would do, but it's a pretty good shot. We will take this. Now as for the green, there's like the green speeds on this course are pretty fast. 165 is faster than most in the contest, and therefore a simplified first green is like a kind of gentle handshake, but a bit of strategy works well. There's good amounts of fairway around the green. Like lots of very sensible CC level stuff here. Like it's a well thought through first hole, which we really appreciate. Turn back. Forgot I'm playing on 165s despite having just mentioned it. A horrible 3-putt bogey. Okay. Good first hole. Now the second hole. So this is this manipulated tee because we were I played around here with Pithy. We were looking for this one, and actually, I'm gonna say you can't. It's not really clear how you would get to it other than climbing through a few ferns. So that might be one thing you want to. Maybe you plant it afterwards. I don't know. Might be one thing worth looking at. Is it? It's not shorter. It's a slightly different angle, so I think it looks a little bit more open from here. From this tee, it basically puts you in a bit of a bind because you either have to carry up to the top area or you run down and you're hitting a big slinging hook around kind of the clubhouse area. I'd say this feels the integration of the clubhouse area and where the fairway and the hole are feel a little awkward. Just like in reality, yeah, it's probably a touch dangerous. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, that sculpting's quite heavy and it then takes me down close to these big trees which feel very close to the surfaces, and I know why they're there, they're protecting the clubhouse, but it just feels a little bit, we could have done this a bit neater by probably putting in a different hole idea somewhere. Now, one thing I did notice with the bunkers is I find that they look really, really good when you do put the planting in, like going like this. When they're just on their own, the sculpting kind of has nowhere to hide, and that's where I think this just needs a bit more practice, as I would expect with someone who's kind of a newer designer. And particularly when you're stacking 3 bunkers, that just takes a lot of practice. But it's lowering the front side mainly as much as you can, and like that style of thing is tough. It takes a while. Now the green though, reachable par 5. Like this was a bit weird when I first saw it, and it actually works really nicely. I'd probably like. I mean, I feel like I want a bit of planting in there, but actually it does work really well. I want to say on the next hole, the drive ball 4. Oh, it needs to get lucky. Generous bit of light rough, which is always helpful, and really generous friendly fairway. I'm interested to see how the high green speeds react with this because I feel like I'm going way off. Yeah, but it didn't deserve much better. Red slope at the back may be a little bit severe. You could probably gain a bit more green space by flattening out a bit at the top. And the other thing is always, with these sorts of slopes, you just want to be really careful that a putt that's just trickling, well, I guess you've moved the hole far enough away, but I'd probably have it a bit flatter near the top and then suddenly going off, I think generally makes for a more effective runoff. And then once it does go off, you want to drop this bit of land more severely. So almost raising this part. It's hard to explain, but basically runoffs that go pretty flat, then sudden, and then flatten out at the bottom work much, much better than, like, you can see this slope is all kind of the same down to here. In this game, that's just going to stop here pretty much every time. Whereas we can create more interesting and kind of realistic shots if you look at how real swales and runoffs work. Well, at least we got our shot back. Okay, hole 3. The other thing that really leaps out at me with this is you've put time and effort into this, like significant time and effort. The planting in the background is done really, really well. Okay, if we go looking for it, maybe you can see some gaps, but like the effort is all there. Like all of this planting, you've cared enough to chuck in a couple of bushes rather than just the one. Over here, we've got different types, we've got colours, we've got, like, this is some serious time that's gone in, and it makes such a difference. Really good. Okay, so where are we on this hole? Yeah, as you can see, like this is kind of the change up round, which after a while, like, there's a reason you put the main tee here. Like, it plays better from this side because that brings in this side of the fairway more, and like missing over here and all of that. Whereas from here it's shorter, it's more reachable. And I think you've done probably a good job balancing it with the wind. So the wind's pushing me more this way, but that's why I'd kind of, with your manipulated tees, I'd generally avoid doing it all on one pin set. Or rather, all on one tee. That's okay. I don't mind that so much. I think there's a good amount to make me think about. Maybe the green, I'd say, for this one is probably a little bit big. Because I think if it was a smaller, slightly more sloped green, that would make me worry about going for this and short siding myself a little more. As it is, it's quite a big green, and I've got a lot of green to work with. I feel like I can go for this one most of the time and really just pop a chip on. It should be a relatively stress-free birdie. But you still have to execute one of those shots to do so. And I think the strategy on this one is nice. You've got various layup zones here, here. I would probably also consider, like, this feels like a very easy bailout. I obviously didn't use it, but like if you're in here, you're in trouble, like the heavy rough. Essentially chipping up to a pin that's here. Anywhere down here, you're going to be having a relatively trivial shot back up. So I might just tighten that bit of fairway in a little bit. Ooh, good hole. Bunkers here bleeding out of the environment. Again, that kind of hides your, we look from the overhead, the shapes themselves, pretty simple. But the planting makes them look really, really good. I just keep working on bunkers because I suspect on a more minimalist course, those would be something that might let you down a bit more than they do here. Where's the up? Yeah, so again, back here, it's just every hole is a little bit of a change up, which I preferred this from back here. You got a better sight line. I'm gonna say there's a bit of Taraiti here. Like the triple spruces behind makes me think of 17 there at least. I like everything here. It maybe feels a little bit empty down here. It could maybe use, I don't know, a bit more sand coming out or waste or something. Trees here. It's a really good site for a par 3. I like the green. It's friendly enough while still having a decent bit of bite if you get in the wrong area. It's a really good hole. Oh, that's not it. Yeah, like there's not much to critique really so far, and I thought the opening stretch on this course was really, really strong. Got myself into a couple of bits of trouble at least early on, so it shows like the fast greens do make a bit of a defense. I would lose your mow lines as well, just personal preference / hatred. Okay, so this time we're further left. Actually, this is a better tee. The other tee over here I think a kind of weaker area because it's just pinching a little artificially. And whilst I like the bunker shapes. These all feel a bit big, and you could have offered a 3-wood layup zone, because when Dan and I were playing it, we both went down this way. And actually that playing into this other fairway opens up the green angle a little bit more for you anyway. Part of that's because we both just felt coming in at this angle, you're really trying to... well, actually, no, Dan went left. I thought about going left, and because he was... I would have gone left, but because he was, I tried to thread the needle to see if it was doable. And, like, it's really tight. I just think you actually avoid this bunker. You get a better angle from the green. You have a marginally longer shot. Yeah, there's this little flat runway in front. But I had a back right pin. I'm going this side all the time. Even for this pin, maybe. I guess the tree comes in a bit more here, so... you know what, we'll play it as intended. So I think just always thinking about, if someone hits 3-wood, do they have an area in which to hit it? Is it friendlier than what I'm allowing them for driver? Would someone ever consider hitting 3-wood? That sort of thing, I think, is always good design philosophy. And even if not 3-wood, it'd be like your shorter drivers, things like that. I'm hoping, yeah, you've allowed a good little runway up to that pin. Slow down now. There we go. Really leapt on when it hit the green. Shouldn't have done. Green itself, simple, effective, little tier on the back or shelf. That works nicely. Little mound here adds a bit of interest for getting to this pin. You might consider laying up down here in order to get around it. Like, bunkers cutting in front, I really like. I do think, I'm not sure those bunkers really fit with the tee shot, asking you to cover as much this side as possible. Like, those bunkers kind of push you out this way, which pushes you into that alternate fairway. I just think if you've got two fairways really close to each other, you want to, as much as possible, be going, well, on this one you go this way, on this one you go this way, so that people don't end up playing in this area. And that kind of happens coming back the other way as well. Oh, game. Planting here, I can't tell you enough how good this looks. This planting just at the top, following the hill line, it's really simple. I say really simple. It's not. It's understated. It's really effective. It's not trying to be too flashy. Just fits exactly as need be. Okay, so where are we with this one? Okay, we're a bit further this way. So I think with this one, I kind of actually, when I played this last time, the pin was about here. And so I played way left because you've got a lot of green to work with. And I mean, it didn't really work out, but it's something that is an option. I think this bunker needs it's just a bit big. It could probably use some of this planting coming in a little bit more if it's as cavernous as it is. And it's kind of a similar concept to the last tee shot, in that we're cutting over a diagonal hazard and trying not to go through the far side of the fairway. Like, we're kind of protecting high and low of the fairway a bit more. Bit again. I do like the green site and some of the sculpting around it. I think the front mound here is maybe a little overdone, and this part is very flat compared to the little micro contours you've got down here, which look really nice. And I think with this one we're going to lay up. But another really good hole corridor. It's a thoughtful hole. I like the width you provided. Like, you can see the areas that we're going for. I'm not sure whether you'd want us being lined here. And I think it's partly to do with the sculpting of the bunkers again, and like how high those are. It might be that was the plan. I'm okay with it if it is. I'm just not sure. That needs to go. It's okay. I also wanted to mention with this one how much I appreciated the uncluttered, zero bunkers around the green approach. Like, this works really, really nicely. I do think you could ruffle up this one just a little bit, but I think the space and amount of undulations and how you've kind of done this but hidden behind the mounds here, I think's really good. There's lots of this that I really liked. So far, 6 holes, really strong. So now we get to the water. Oh, okay, we're playing from over here. Yeah, I will say I'm not enjoying this tee set anywhere near as much. I think we've kind of changed way too much for no real reason because we've now walked all the way over to here to play. I presume there's no way to get to this tee set. Not as far as I can tell. You're walking across another hole, like, yeah. I think we can achieve the same stuff, but a bit more subtly. It does change how the hole plays. It just does it really dramatically. I wasn't such a fan of these two little circle bunkers. I don't know if they really fit with the other sandbelt style bunkers you're going for, shaping wise. This actually plays a pretty tough par 4 in the other direction. In this direction, I think it's a bit easier. I do love the like planting and the little kind of cove that you've created. Sculpting on the left of that bunker again is something to work on. Just you want to make your bunkers engage with other surfaces a little bit more neatly. And this plant, I've ended up in this spot on the fairway pretty much every time. You don't want me being blind due to this planting. Like this just needs sinking down more. Planting behind the green again looks great. One thing I'll add is about these trees is they seem very evenly spaced, and the single tree approach is something you want to probably avoid a bit more. Like the little copses, like those 3 trees behind the par 3, that's more what you're going for rather than just one here, one there, one everywhere. It looks a lot more natural that way. I'll stay up. Again, like I haven't commented much on the greens because there's not much to comment on. They're really CC appropriate. They're generally really good. And lots of courses from more experienced designers in this contest could learn from these. Because you've absolutely nailed what you should be going for. It's an eventful scorecard until the last 2 holes. And I think one of my general takeaways with the course was actually the inland holes were better than the coastal ones. Like, they engaged me more. Yeah, again, just massive change of where we're going. That said, I think on the main course it could have used this. This one was I kind of like this hole because it was a bite up so much you can chew dog leg or lay back and leave a longer approach, whereas from here it's a bit more straightforward. It just loses that a bit. Get left. Thank you. We'll take light rough. And again, like the open one side with short grass and then bunkers behind, yeah, it's not particularly novel, but it's effective and you haven't done it yet, I don't think. I guess maybe on the par 5. The second par 5. That's not a great swing. Really love the use of those trees and that little scrub planting behind and the big views over the dunes. Like, looks very, very good. Big fan of all of this so far. Okay, 9th green. Feels like we're doing a little bit of Victoria, Kingston Heath. And maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like we're drawing a lot from sandbelt courses without wanting to guess. I think sculpting on here, you're hiding it nicely with planting, but the issue is that you're putting high side of the bunker above the green, and like that's always going to be a little bit awkward. This is certainly the toughest par 3 on the course from what I remember. Oh, and you can see all of the 4 greens. That's a nice little touch. But there is a route to get to this pin. You have to use this slope, but I'd probably soften this slope just a touch so that people who do want to take that tiger line over here can get it close, but you can also get it close and have more margin for error by running it through here, rather than the way we've got it is just like you can't do it this way, you have to use it this way, which yes, it's strategic, but it could be more strategic by providing that extra option. I think 6 irons it. The slow isn't, no. Nope. Good. Really, like a solid par 3 again. I think doing slightly different things to the previous one, but you did still have a little bit of that little ridge in the middle, which was kind of similar to the other one. Okay, glad we've moved the tee on this one, because the tee on this one, this from the normal tee set is just, to be honest, not a very fun par 5, because you're trying to cut this bunker and not run through, and it's basically an impossible tee shot, and it's then also an impossible green to hold. It's just like, it's just defending a little bit too much. From this angle, it's a touch better. Maybe it's doable. Nope, we're going to go through. Oh, not. Okay, so we've gotten to here, but we still have 0 angle to this green because you can't ever generate one. And the pins here, and there's one, I think there's 2 on this portion. Don't know whether there's one in the swale. I think there was one over here somewhere. Yeah, because I played to the back one here before, and there's just no way of getting close. And it just kind of makes it, well, either you go through it because you might as well, and like you're going to end up with a chip backwards, and it's kind of made your decision for you, or you lay up because you feel forced to, not because you want to tempt people to hitting this shot because they believe they can potentially achieve it with a perfect shot. Without giving them that option, that's where strategy feels forced and people get frustrated. As is, laying up was obviously the option we went for. Great decision. And I get what we're going for with these 3 bunkers. Of like, oh, you could lay up this side, or you could lay up this side, and maybe you're going over the bunkers. You'll find much more effectiveness making like a lion's mouth thing with like a small bunker, because there's much more potential for that to come into play. When you start making them really big, it takes up so much of the effective space, and actually, if you just go long, you're playing overall because it's not actually tucked up very close to the green. I think that's what we're going for a bit here. It's that sort of idea. Oh my goodness, a perfect pitch, and I miscalculated spin and stuff. Shame. Yeah, this green colour me not a fan of. I mean, generally the front to back is really penal. If you are going front to back, generally you've got to allow people a chance to land it on short. This side obviously isn't doing that. This side I think is passable. It's not great. Then this slope and the little sway was odd, and this side just doesn't really function with the bunkers. I feel like this is one of the holes that needed a bit of a redo. Planting behind the green, like commitment to all of the bushes, these little things, like that's the level of detail we need in courses for contests, and that will get you so far. And that's done in this contest. It's certainly a course that gives me a lot of things to go in fighting for and go, no, actually, this is why this course should do well. Okay, 11. Where are we on this one? Yeah, we've just played this green. So we're now walking off here. We're walking across this fairway, hitting down here. And again, it was I have some more thoughts on this hole generally. So it was from this angle. You probably could stand. The hole would be infinitely better losing either or both of these bunkers. I would suggest both. The reason being, you've angled the fairway to accept a shot from close to these bunkers. So those ones are just punishing a poor shot that hasn't gone that close to it. Let the ball roll out. Let people get in a worse position on their next shot. Secondly, the fairway already runs towards them, so now we're basically just narrowing the fairway rather than make it strategic. Strategic is play as close to this hazard as you dare. Penal is just can you hit the perfect shot, and it's turned it into a perfect shot rather than a more of a strategic one. And also, like, you have all the strategy you need with the green complex and what you've done. Like, you want to be coming at it this way, you don't want to be coming at it this way. Let people go right. Don't hold them up in a bunker. Also, once they hit in a bunker, we'll try and do it now, just to kind of show a point. Obviously, we've pulled it and we've gone straight down the direct line. Perfect. But if I hit in a bunker, you're now then making it all carry at like 160. with bearing in mind I might have a 75% line, I might have 50%, and you've given me no way to land it on short. I could potentially use that spine, will be a help, but it's taking away a few things that I would always say a good rule of thumb is, do you need a bunker? Like, would the hole be better without that bunker? Because it's really easy, particularly in it's a dreadful shot. Particularly the way we design, where it's a complete sandbox and you can do whatever you want. It's very easy just to keep chucking down bunkers because they look pretty, and you only ever playtest from the fairway. Well, just keep considering, do you like bunkers can be really good. They can frame, they can give you an ideal line for strategy purposes and kind of direct the golfer where to play. They can provide effective hazards. However, over bunkering can just make a golf course very penal and very punitive as well. I like the little touches of purple in the background there as well. But otherwise, I like the hole. The concept's really good. It's just a little bit off with the execution with those. Really like the green site. Okay. I was going to say it was a bit further back and it was a bit further left. Mainly because the lighting wasn't so severe. I think when I saw this one last time, it just needs a little bit of the empty space filled in down here. But I love the green site. Like, this one gives me a little bit of Peninsula Kingswood vibes, which is definitely a good thing. And you also lose something by coming at this one straight on. Like, the angle from here made this interesting because we're coming over this mound, we're taking on this runoff. This one's a bit more diagonal. From here, being a bit more straight on, it's kind of just like it's pure distance controlling you down the throat of it. So, like, again, there's a bit of a peril to manipulated tees. Like, it's one, I would say it's a thing to do, thinking really, really carefully about why you're doing it and what you're gaining from it, rather than just thing to chuck on because it's cool. Oh, definitely not the easiest course out there. Okay, where are we on? We're just a bit further back. So we do have another. Oh, there's been a number where there's been trouble on the outside of the dogleg and you can run too far. That can be effective, but it's definitely not a strategy to overuse. I feel we have definitely overused it at this point. I loved this green site though. I think it's just such a nice kind of like it's obviously not natural, but it feels it. It's like there's this little cove out here and put a green site on, and I love that you haven't tucked it really close to the water. I love that it's just got a fairway around it. Yeah, it's a funky green shape, but it kind of makes sense. The green site itself, awesome. Big fan. Oh, stay clear. And there's a lot of fairway out there. Like, there is width where you want it. I can't hit driver, but that's okay. Because there is some forgiveness on the green, and I can land it a little short. I think of the coastal holes, this was probably the one that worked the best for me. There we go. That got very lucky. And that's a cool little pan out. Sometimes HP gives you some great looks. There we are. Back under par. Okay, another coastal hole. And yeah, same thing with the manipulated tees. We're now hitting over another green. Like, that's all kinds of awkward. I'll be honest, the manipulated tees are losing marks more for me rather than gaining them. I like the idea in principle. They've just changed too many holes and not. I don't think they've really helped. Trying to remember this one from the other side. It was kind of a cape tee shot, wasn't it? Yeah, it was totally a cape tee shot. Play as close to the corner as you can. This bunker kind of pinches a little bit, so you can lay back, but you've got a longer approach shot. And there were enough slopes on the green to funnel the ball towards. So this one worked really well from the other one. Again, it's just from here, it's just point and shoot. It's significantly less good from this angle. Because the tee shot becomes really automatic, and yeah, it might be on a cool spot on the plot, it might give a good view, but it's a worse golf hole. That's a shame. Because this was never designed as a driver lob wedge flop. And I've literally taken on no danger. It's, yeah. K3, we've moved again, we're going way further right, we're at a different angle. Again, like, I loved this one when there was no elevation change. It was a beautiful little hole that's just, just try to find the other tee. Yeah, we're here. Like, that's lovely. It's really like, okay, again, not totally natural, but like a really peaceful, calm spot. Like, makes sense. Lands for everything's framed beautifully. I don't really like it much from up here. It doesn't work as well, and it's also not 125 yards, which kind of means you're not hitting your other element because it's got to be from. So I feel like this is a thing you chucked on near the end and didn't necessarily plan on doing. And like, I guess that's a good lesson to learn. It's one that I learned in my first contest of just like, you want to consider whether everything fits with the course rather than just doing stuff for the sake of stuff. There we go. On the birdie train a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it's not a par 3 I dislike, it's just it was better from the other tee. I'll be honest, this tee shot felt a bit awkward from the other tee. I think this is equally. The Hog's Back I like as an idea, and I like how it works with the green. I would like to be able to see it rather than hitting over a cape, because again, for this one, I'm just going to aim here and play way left of it because that's the angle I've got. As long as I don't hit an awful tee shot. Yeah. I kind of feel like if you've got the longest driver on this tee set, you can go and just take a lot of the strategy out of it. Because this is a cool green site with like gap wedge, and when Dan and I played this, we were into a headwind and we had a pin back here. I went over this bunker and bounced and rolled in really close, and he bounced off this bunker and rolled in really close, and it was really fun. You wouldn't really get that from hitting a wedge shot in, which feels a little bit of a shame. But that's also partly a comment on driver distance in this game. Sorry, had to pause. Video will have jumped a bit. Yeah, again, green I like. It's really simple. Does what it needs to do. It's a solid hole. The tee shot was a little bit funky, but okay. So this was already a pretty tight tee shot, and it was drivable, but on an angle you could bounce it on, and it tempted you enough to go for it, but the slope was always potentially taking it in this bunker. From this angle, it's not really doable. You can land it, I guess, on here, but you're flying over the back anyway. And I really liked I really like the green. Like, it revolves around this central spine, and you just want to be on the right side of it. So, I mean, I do worry that potentially the best play is hitting long for this pin, because then you can chip back up it, rather than being short. Especially when long, there is a load of fairway to deal with and no hazards. And short, there's less fairway to deal with, more camber and a lot of hazards. I kind of feel like long is always going to be the play here. There is at least this, which you wouldn't want to end up in, but you might want to add something for this hole. Just like a bunker here would make me think twice. Again, I think the angle here is just significantly worse than where we were originally. Oh, it wasn't too far away. And just cozy it up. And yeah, again, like I had it for, I can't remember which pin I had it before. Maybe one around about here, and I just kept going the wrong side. And like, if you get the out of position on this course from the main tee set, I'd say you can find yourself in some difficulty. Okay, final one. Okay, not too manipulated, so pretty much the same angle. These two bunkers are, unfortunately, I'd say probably the worst. Like the one on the left is probably the worst one in the course, and it's really front and center on 18. They could use that planting in front. That was what really helped. And for 18, I'd be looking at throwing everything at it. These bunkers are quite nice. Just be wary of the remove heavy rough texture and how shiny it gets. And like lighting wise, it's a little bit in your face from this tee particularly. But we can hit driver all the way out here. Can't really cut the corner too much on this one, so you're always going to have fairly lengthy approach in. I think to a back pin, obviously be playing off a different tee, but yeah, you're looking at a 6 iron in or so. Green itself, again, really CC appropriate. Like, I think you've not missed difficulty at all with the greens. One of the few people in the contest who's nailed them. And the clubhouse, I haven't yet looked around actually. The clubhouse area is really nice. It just feels sensible. It does what you'd expect it to do. There's a shot. I'll take that. We really fought back for that 5 under after getting our way back to it, the even par. Yeah, I mean, I've got so many thoughts on this course and so many things that I really like, and it's one that has just... Okay, I think the thing I probably like the least on this round is clearly the manipulated tees. I thought they just didn't really improve any holes other than the first hole, maybe. Maybe the 5th as well might have been a slight improvement. But there weren't many. There were far more where I thought they took away from the holes than they added. I don't think it's fair to play the which holes do you remember game because it's my 3rd round on it. I will say there's a few on the back 9 that grabbed me a little bit less. And I thought some of the coastal holes are the coastal holes for me are notably the weaker ones. Not all of them, but you occasionally use the coast as an outside of the dogleg hazard or bunkers as outside of the dogleg hazards. Those can feel quite punitive, and certainly with the coastline on the outside, it's just a bit awkward. But I did like that you then caped back on both sides, so we had water on the left, water on the right. I'd be wary about over bunkering, particularly centerline bunkers where we don't need them and actually impedes playability. Hopefully, that's kind of been pointed out. What else? I'm trying to think. I mean, the positives. Greens are great. Environment's awesome. There's loads of interesting golf holes. Nailed the difficulty for the most part, with the exception of 1 or 2 of those bunkers. Like, really enjoyable, good fun. Technicals mostly there. Oh yeah, the other thing's bunker sculpting, and just sculpting in general you will keep polishing as you go. And there are a few misses on hole designs, but they're not massive and there's not very many of them. So, I mean, I expect this one to surprise a few people and do really well in the contest. And I hope that, like, people will follow your stuff from this. It's one of those that, like, a really good first contest published to have under your belt. So certainly yours will be a name that I'm looking out for when it comes to playing future rounds. Hopefully that helps. Really enjoyed it. Best luck in the contest and see you again soon.